Good evening, ladies and gents. I'm JP and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to discuss politics, but before we go any further, please remember to hit the like and subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any of my future videos. We're going to talk about Brexit today because it's now been 10 years since the infamous Brexit referendum, and we were made promises, loads of promises, especially from the Leave campaign, if you recall. This is going to be the first part of my coverage. Today we're going to discuss 5 of the promises that the Leave campaign had made to sway voters. If you recall, back in 2016, there was a big red bus with signs saying that we send 350 million a week to the EU and that we should fund our NHS instead, and we were being asked to vote Leave. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? That turned out to be a big lie. Firstly, the amount in itself was overly exaggerated. The actual amount was £250 million a week. And what's more was that the UK was getting money back from the EU, either in terms of EU funded projects or money being put back into the UK agricultural system. Yes, that was a big, big lie. A second promise that was made to voters was that by leaving the EU, the UK could claim back its laws. Yet another lie. It turns out that we're now in March 2026 and there are still over 6,900 EU-derived laws being applied in the UK. Yes, ladies and gents, over 6,900 laws, EU-derived laws, still being applied within the UK. Wouldn't it make more sense to keep applying these laws? Because where do you start? How does it end? A third promise that was made was that by leaving the EU, Britain could protect its fisheries. Remember, ladies and gents, 9 out of 10 fishermen had voted to leave the EU. One of the biggest arguments that they made then was that they felt that other EU countries were getting far more fish from UK waters than the opposite. The UK eventually came out of the EU, as we all know. But guess what? It turns out that based on data compiled between 2021 and 2026, there's only 25% of the fish that's coming to EU waters compared to the 80% that the UK thought it was going to get. That's not even a third of the percentage or the amount that was expected. Not even a third. Yet another broken promise. A fourth promise was that by leaving the EU, migration would be slowed. And yes, there have been far less EU migrants coming to the UK. The numbers have actually dropped. There's actually less EU nationals in the UK as compared to what it was, um, around or before Brexit. Having said that, as you all know, the UK is an aging population. And just like every country, the UK needs younger people who are in work to put money into the UK economy, into the UK systems. And guess what? The UK ended up recruiting internationals in certain areas like healthcare, obviously internationals from non-EU countries, as it were. So, and there's also been a lot of non-EU citizens who have come here to study on visas. So again, this is another issue that the Leave campaign had no clue what they were talking about, unfortunately. And I've covered in one of my recent videos how migrants had been positively affecting the UK economy. A fifth promise was that by leaving the EU, the Irish borders would not be affected, would be unchanged. That promise was made by former Prime Minister Boris Johnson. And again, that turned out to be completely false. Both the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland have had to find ways to, mitigate these issues, whether it's by using the Irish Sea or creating conditions so that they could both could operate without, I mean, flaws or without, yeah, that was really it. They had to make decisions, and unfortunately that was yet another false promise, because we all remember that the UK had left the UK had left the single market, but the Republic of Ireland didn't. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is part one of how Brexit has affected the UK as a whole and how some of these promises that were made hold up. As you can see, 5 of these promises turned out to be completely false. We will soon be covering another 5 set of promises that had been made, and we'll see how those other 5 promises hold up. Please stay tuned and remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons so that you don't miss out. Peace.